There are moments you can't explain to anyone. Moments where life feels heavier than it should, as if you've been handed a burden you never agreed to carry. It's not dramatic. It's not exaggerated. It's a quiet, steady ache, a feeling that existence itself is punishing you for a crime you don't remember committing. And deep down, you keep wondering, why does simply being alive hurt this much? Why do others float while you sink? Why does awareness feel like a weight a human mind shouldn't have to hold? Schopenhauer had an answer, one so unsettling, so precise that once you understand it, you can never unsee it. Today we're going to break down why existence feels like punishment, why some people experience life more intensely than others, and how clarity, not happiness, might be the only real freedom available to an honest mind. You feel things too clearly. That's where it begins. You notice the anxiety hiding behind someone's laughter. You notice the emptiness inside a person's success. You notice the fragility in relationships, the tempo of conversations, the quiet fear in people's choices. While others skim the surface, your mind dives without permission. You don't just see life, you feel its undercurrent. Most people don't. Not because they're stronger than you, but because they are protected by something you no longer have. Insulation. Ignorance softens life. Denial cushions reality. Distraction blurs pain. But your mind refuses these comforts. You see too much, and that vision comes with a cost. Schopenhauer called it the first wound of consciousness. The moment you realize there is no safe layer between your awareness and the truth. For some, life is filtered. For you, life is unmasked. And that hurts. You look around and wonder how others stay so calm, so light, so unbothered. But here's the truth. They're not living. They're coping. Watch closely. People drown themselves in careers not because they're passionate, but because silence terrifies them. People chase pleasure not because it fulfills them, but because it distracts them. People seek attention, status, validation, not because it heals them, but because it numbs them. Every person you see is performing a ritual of escape. But your awareness doesn't let you escape. It doesn't let you stay asleep. You feel the fracture beneath society's smile. You sense the exhaustion behind everyone's ambition. You recognize the desperation hiding behind people's confidence. Schopenhauer believed human beings survive by reducing reality, by lowering the resolution of existence so it becomes tolerable. Your problem, your punishment, is that your mind won't let you look away. Schopenhauer believed that behind every human emotion, every dream, every achievement, there is only one force, the will. The will wants. It doesn't know why. It doesn't care why. It just wants. You wake because it wants. You chase because it wants. You suffer because it wants. Every goal you pursue, every desire that tortures you, every longing that keeps you awake at night, none of it is chosen consciously. It is the will moving through you, like a puppet master pulling strings. Most people never see this. They live by instinct, believing they chose their lives. You, however, notice the pattern. You want, you chase, you suffer, you achieve, you get bored, you want again. The moment you satisfy a desire, a new one appears. Satisfaction is not the reward. Satisfaction is just the beginning of new suffering. The will gives you just enough pleasure to keep you alive, then resumes hurting you. That's why existence feels like punishment. Not because life hates you, but because desire is hardwired suffering, and you are aware of it. Schopenhauer lived before smartphones, before social media, before the algorithm. But if he saw your world, he would say, "You are not suffering more than past generations. You are suffering more clearly. Your pain is amplified, magnified, optimized. Everything is engineered to trigger the will. Endless scrolling, instant comparisons, artificial desire, curated perfection. You experience more faces in 1 week than your ancestors saw in their entire lives. Your nervous system is ancient. Your environment is engineered. You are overwhelmed because you are not built for this. Every notification is a demand. Every trend is a pressure. Every platform monetizes insecurity. The will no longer hides in hunger or survival. It hides in stimulation. Your exhaustion is not personal. It's structural. You're not failing. You're overexposed. One day you're sitting with people, maybe friends, maybe family, and suddenly you feel it. You are not participating in the world. You are observing it. Others laugh easily. You analyze the dynamics behind every moment. Others talk effortlessly. You question why we speak so much, but say so little. Others enjoy the noise. You hear the emptiness underneath it. This doesn't make you superior. It makes you untuned to the collective illusion. You're not avoiding people. You're avoiding meaninglessness. You're not antisocial. You're allergic to superficiality. You're not withdrawn. You're aware. And awareness rarely fits in crowds. Schopenhauer understood this alienation deeply. He believed that society is built to reward comfort, not clarity. The more clearly you see, the less naturally you belong. Have you noticed this? Joy is thin, fragile, short-lived. Pain is thick, heavy, persistent. Psychology explains it now, but Schopenhauer knew it centuries earlier. Human brains evolved to notice threats, not beauty. Joy is optional. Pain is essential for survival. But when you're more perceptive, this imbalance becomes unbearable. You watch others get excited over things that feel empty to you. A promotion that will fade. A relationship built on loneliness. Achievements celebrated for a day, then forgotten. Trends that mean nothing. You see the impermanence of everything, and it makes joy harder to trust. Life begins to feel like a loop. Pursue, achieve, get bored. Pursue, ache, repeat. It's not depression. It's perception. You are simply aware of the cycle others avoid seeing. There comes a day. You don't remember exactly when, where you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and begin asking, "What is wrong with life?" That shift is everything. It's the moment blame moves from self to structure. You realize you're not ruined. You're reflective. You're not broken. You're observant. You're not failing. You're awake. Your suffering was never personal. It was philosophical. Most people feel life's cruelty unconsciously. You feel it consciously. And consciousness makes suffering sharper. But it also makes relief possible. Once you stop blaming yourself, something new begins. Clarity. Clarity doesn't remove pain. It reorganizes it. You stop being tortured by the cycle and start recognizing its pattern. You stop begging for lasting happiness and start appreciating temporary peace. You stop personalizing suffering and start seeing it as structural. You no longer assume every failure defines you. You see that failure is simply the will expressing itself through chaos, craving, conflict. You begin to understand that the world isn't attacking you. The world is indifferent to everyone. This realization does something subtle but powerful. It neutralizes the pain. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. After clarity comes detachment, not coldness, not apathy, not numbness, just a quiet refusal to keep obeying the will blindly. You stop chasing approval because you see how empty validation is. You stop chasing success because you see how quickly its meaning rots. You stop chasing pleasure because you see it always dissolves into boredom. You stop drowning in loneliness because you discover the difference between isolation and solitude. You realize there is nothing the world worships that can save you. And strangely, that realization is freedom. Schopenhauer did not believe in traditional freedom. You cannot escape desire. You cannot escape suffering. You cannot redesign human nature. But you can do one thing: see it. Awareness is freedom, not escape, not bliss, not happiness. Awareness. Because the moment you see the will, the moment you understand its machinery, you stop being owned by it. You still feel pain, but it doesn't define you. You still have desires, but they don't drown you. You still live the same life, but you live it consciously. And conscious suffering hurts less than blind suffering. Not because the pain is smaller, but because your relationship to it changes. At some point, you reach a new emotional state. Not joy, not euphoria, not bliss. Neutrality. A quiet, steady, grounded neutrality. You wake without dread, but without excitement. You live without drama, but without illusion. You breathe without guilt, but without expectation. It is the emotional equivalent of clean air. Not sweet, not intoxicating, but pure. Schopenhauer believed this neutrality, this stable awareness, is the closest thing to peace humans can experience. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become clearer. People spend their whole lives chasing happiness, but happiness is a flicker, a brief pause between shocks of wanting and waves of boredom. Clarity, however, is a flame that stays lit. Happiness is unstable. Clarity is constant. Happiness depends on conditions. Clarity survives any condition. Happiness is sold to you. Clarity is earned by you. The world markets happiness because it's profitable. But clarity is powerful. You don't depend on illusions anymore. You don't depend on validation. You don't depend on hope. You depend on understanding. And understanding doesn't disappear. Now you finally see it. Life isn't punishing you. Life is indifferent. And indifference feels like punishment, only when you expect the world to care. You weren't chosen for suffering. You weren't targeted. You weren't singled out. You simply see reality too clearly to be comforted by the illusions others use to survive. And once you see through illusions, you can't go back. Clarity is irreversible. Awareness is permanent. Depth has no exit door. But deep down, you know you wouldn't trade it. Not really, because the truth, even when it hurts, is the only thing that never betrays you. Most people drown in illusions. You drown in truth. And truth, though heavy, is the only thing that allows a person to stand upright in a collapsing world. So you return to silence, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of understanding. A silence that says, this is existence. This is the will. This is suffering. And I have survived all of it without looking away. That is not punishment. That is strength. That is clarity. That is liberation. You are awake in a sleeping world, and that is your burden and your crown. Wear it with precision.